Starting off, we have Mariah Carey. The Jennifer-Mariah feud has played out since the early 2000s, and it all began with 4 little words Mariah Carey once uttered to a German reporter: "I don't know her." Now both stars have repeatedly been asked about the comment, and they can't seem to decide whether they like each other or not. When Andy Cohen brought up the feud on his show, Watch What Happens Live, in 2014, Jennifer played the whole thing off, saying, "I don't have a feud against her at all. I know from back in the day I've read things that she said about me that were not the greatest, but we've never met, like we don't know each other." She added, "I would love to meet her and I'd love to be friends with her." However, during a 2016 appearance on the Wendy Williams show, Jennifer said, "Mariah does say that, she's forgetful, I guess. We've met many times." Now that same year, Mariah spoke to Andy Cohen about the feud and stood her ground, reiterating, "I don't know her. What am I supposed to say?" Then, following her disastrous New Year's Eve performance that December, Jennifer found an opportunity to throw shade. When an Instagram user posted about the Trainwreck show, writing, "Ever seen an accident you couldn't take your eyes away from? That was her tonight." J-Lo liked the post. Then when Mariah published her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, in September 2020, she not only revealed the root of her feud with J-Lo, but she also made sure to throw shade at her. Now in the book, Mariah slams her ex-husband Tommy Mottola and the then chairman and CEO of Sony Music Entertainment, accusing him of trying to ruin her career and getting Jennifer Lopez involved. Yeah, I don't think they'll be making up anytime soon. Next up is Ojani Noah. Although J-Lo's short-lived marriage to Ojani Noah ended in 1998, it seems her ex can't stand her. Despite the fact that they were only married for 9 months, Noah has been trying to slander his former flame and keep his name in the news by any means possible. In 2006, he set out to publish a tell-all book dubbed The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller, which Jennifer stopped with a lawsuit, claiming that her ex was breaking their confidentiality agreement. She was then awarded $545,000 in damages, and Noah was slapped with a court order which forbade him from criticizing, casting in a negative light, or otherwise disparaging Jennifer. Just 3 years later, he then made headlines again when he threatened to release videos taped during the pair's honeymoon, showing the pop star in a revealing lack of clothing and sexual situations, especially in the hotel room. Now this caused her to file a $10 million lawsuit against him, and meanwhile, during a 2016 appearance on $1 Million Matchmaker, he dumped the blame on his former wife, saying she caused their split and claiming, "I was looking forward to being with her for the rest of my life. It didn't happen. She made her choice of her career instead of me." So yeah, due to all that, I think it's safe to say that neither of them want to work together or even be in the same room. Then there's Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj and Jennifer Lopez's first feud happened during a 2012 American Idol episode when Nicki performed and J-Lo was working as a judge. As the rapper finished her set, she asked, "I was hoping maybe I could come back and be a guest judge. J-Lo, can you scoot over a little bit?" Now things got more awkward when Jennifer said, "I don't know if there's enough room for both of us." Now not letting go, Nicki got fired up and told the Hollywood Reporter backstage she didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it, before trying to smooth things over, saying, "We were just joking around." Now fast forward to 2015, however, and things between the two didn't seem to be any better. When J-Lo opened the American Music Awards with a medley of songs that included an expert from Nicki Minaj's Anaconda, there was one person in the audience who appeared to be totally unimpressed: Nicki herself. Now as the camera cut to Nicki, her emotionless face said it all. Now we have Rosie Perez. On the surface, it seems like Rosie Perez and Jennifer, who have known each other for decades as they met in 1991 at an opening casting call for In Living Color's Fly Girl Dancers, were great friends. But despite having a lot in common, according to Rosie's 2014 memoir, Handbook for an Unpredictable Life, there's no love between them. In the book, Rosie recalled their time working together on the show and took the opportunity to paint J-Lo negatively. "All the girls were coming into my office complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage," she wrote, accusing J-Lo of acting like some ghetto biatch, screaming and pounding her chest. Although J-Lo left In Living Color just after 2 seasons, Rosie accused the star of keeping their feud long alive after they both parted ways. In the book, she portrayed the singer as being two-faced, saying she made disparaging comments about her in Hollywood, then acted friendly. "She came over to me smiling, saying hello as if nothing happened," Rosie recalled of an encounter the pair had at a club. Moving on to Jenna Dewan. Jennifer Lopez and Jenna Dewan seemed to get along just fine when they both appeared on NBC's World of Dance. Now the reality dance competition, which premiered in 2017, saw J-Lo taking on the role of executive producer and judge, while Jenna acted as host and mentor. Now the pair, who are both dancers, never showed any signs of animosity on the small screen, but according to OK OK magazine, the vibe was very differently behind the scenes. Jenna can't stand Jen's over-the-top theatrical fakery, the outlet quotes an unnamed source as saying. Jen never fails to ham it up when the cameras are rolling, and she hijacks the show. It seems she'd prefer if Jenna just stayed in the background. Every situation, even off camera, is micromanaged by J-Lo, and Jenna feels very excluded, the insider concluded. Then there's Rihanna. Almost as soon as Jennifer Lopez shared a snap of herself chilling with Drake backstage at her Las Vegas show in December 2016, it was reported that the pair were dating. Now the caption she used for the pic was, "Look who rolled up to my show tonight to say hi, #love him." She then made another post of him giving her a bear hug and looking rather cozy snuggling up to her. While some didn't believe the headlines, Drake's on-again, off-again love interest at the time, Rihanna, sure seemed to take the post to heart. According to an unnamed insider who spoke with In Touch, she felt like she had suffered the ultimate betrayal and dubbed Lopez desperate and a traitor. After all, the two used to be close, and it's said that Rihanna had confided in J-Lo about her rocky relationship with Drake. Now, although Rihanna never publicly addressed the issue, she unfollowed Jennifer shortly after. Now let's talk about Gwyneth Paltrow. During an interview in 1998, Jennifer threw some major shade at Gwyneth Paltrow by pretending not to know who she was. "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she's been in," she told Movie Line. Later, she made it sound like Paltrow only became famous though because of her relationship with Brad Pitt. "Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard of her work," Jen said. Now Gwyneth hasn't responded publicly, but you have to assume that the comments weren't well received. Now it's just so funny because didn't J-Lo get mad at Mariah for doing the same thing? Now we have Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz was most likely a fan of J-Lo until J-Lo said some rude things about her. Now Jennifer dismissed her, saying she was a lucky model who had been given a lot of opportunities. "I just wish she would have done more with them." Now Cameron in turn has commented on J-Lo's behavior on the set of 2012's What to Expect When You're Expecting. J-Lo pretty much ignored Diaz, and for her part, Cameron has said that the huge entourage that Jennifer insists on bringing along with her, and her tendency to do things like stop in the middle of the scene if she has a meal break schedule, made her difficult, if not impossible, to work with. She said J-Lo should stick to singing, referring to it as her day job. Yeah, it seems like with having that experience, Cameron would not want to be on set with her again. Next is Madonna. Now their feud all began when Madonna was asked who she thinks is the best female singer in the world, and she said Jennifer Lopez was a good actress, but she couldn't sing. Then in a 1998 interview, Jennifer fired back at Madonna, saying she wasn't a good actor while promoting her film Out of Sight. When asked about Madonna's acting skills, J-Lo didn't hold back. "Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Now after the interview was published, J-Lo regretted everything she said about her colleagues and said it was all a joke. However, it was already too late as Madonna had already read the interview and reportedly felt disrespected. Then there was a New Year's Eve party hosted by Donatella Versace that year, which was attended by J-Lo, Madonna, and Christopher Saccone. Christopher explained that Ingrid Caress, Madonna's close friend, ran to the courtyard during the celebration and shouted, "J-Lo is here and we're not talking to her." He then said everyone except for him and Donatella Versace gave Jennifer the cold shoulder. And finally we have Shakira. J-Lo had some not so nice things to say about her halftime performer Shakira. Now Jennifer has claimed that her Super Bowl performance with Shakira was the worst idea in the world. She didn't hold back in her Netflix documentary Halftime as she slammed the NFL's decision to organize two halftime show performers for the 2020 show. She said that both should have had their singing moments and hit out at organizers for giving her just 6 minutes. Previous performers, including Madonna and Lady Gaga, were each given more than 13 minutes to perform solo. In Jennifer's documentary, the singer tells Shakira that unnamed NFL sources told her that they'd have about 12 minutes combined to perform. However, she said that they would probably get a minute or two added on. If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes, Jennifer said. Now the Super Bowl halftime show ended up running for about 14 minutes, giving them 7 minutes each to perform some of their biggest hits, but Jennifer didn't want to share the spotlight. Starting off, we have Vin Diesel. While filming Fast and Furious 8, Dwayne Johnson shared a since-deleted Instagram post to criticize some of his male co-stars in 2016. Some conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals, while others don't, he wrote. Later, it was reported that this criticism criticism was aimed at Vin Diesel, something Dwayne all but confirmed when he thanked pretty much everyone from the Fast and Furious franchise on Instagram, except for Vin Diesel. While The Rock later told Entertainment Tonight that the feud was the result of different philosophies, Vin, who typically seemed eager to shut down any talk of their feud, shed light on their relationship. Dwayne has only got one Vin in his life, he told USA Today, before explaining how he paved the way for Johnson as the first multicultural megastar in Hollywood. Dwayne Johnson only has one big brother in the film world, and that's me. I'm always rooting Dwayne on. Hey, he can support him from afar without wanting to work or be near him, which I think is the case here. Up next is John Cena. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was the face of WWE in the 90s until his Hollywood career took off, and John Cena had his own WWE takeover as The Rock switched to movies. Now this then led to a feud between the two. Although they are best friends today, The Rock told Jimmy Kimmel that before John became one of his best friends, the former WWE rivals had real problems with each other. In 2011, John was mouthing off to fans about how The Rock hadn't been in the ring in 8 years, and questioned whether or not The Rock even cared about the business. John then got even more angry when The Rock didn't attend the 15th anniversary show or make an appearance at WrestleMania because he was filming. Now The Rock says in an old clip that John was popping off at the mouth. Now, John said all of that, of course, before he himself began focusing on acting. He was asked about this retrospective hypocrisy in an interview with Gorilla Position a decade later, and he apologized, saying he was wrong. "I called him out as someone who had tunnel vision in the WWE and didn't understand the process that when you make a movie, you're not allowed to do anything else." But hey, at least they were able to make up. Then there's Randy Orton. Wrestler Randy Orton made it known that he didn't like The Rock when he was asked about an upcoming WrestleMania match between Dwayne Johnson and John Cena during a 2011 ESPN interview. After initially using the question to slam Johnson for stepping away from wrestling and focusing on acting, Randy criticized The Rock's abilities. "I think Cena is wittier and can go off the cuff. Cena writes his own stuff while The Rock has stuff written for him. It all just comes down to who you are in the ring and what kind of performer you are in the ring, and I think Cena is 10 times the performer in the ring than The Rock is." Ouch. Now later on recalling this interview, Randy revealed that he actually got in trouble for putting all that out there. Moving on to Kevin Nash. For those of you who don't know, there's a long-standing legend in wrestling that Kevin Nash wasn't thrilled with The Rock after he went off script during a promo. According to rumors, The Rock improvised the famous line, "Big Daddy bleep," which caught Kevin off guard. More importantly, Kevin allegedly felt that the insult made his character look weak. He went on to claim that Johnson tried to manage their matches too much, reportedly asking him, "What one thing do you want to do here?" Kevin, though, has more recently said that he respects Johnson, telling Daily DDT in 2019 that he credits The Rock for being the wrestler turned actor who opened the door for all of us to Hollywood. However, it seems clear that there was some bad blood between the two. Now we have Tyrese Gibson. When The Rock and Vin Diesel were fighting, Tyrese Gibson made it clear that he wasn't involved in any drama. In a now deleted post on Instagram, he explained how he felt about The Rock. "He's my brother, we have never had a problem and will never have a problem." Now that didn't last for too long though, as Fast and Furious 9 was pushed back a year, and shortly after it was revealed that The Rock had scored his solo spin-off, Hobbs and Shaw. Tyrese wasn't having any of this though, and he slammed him on Instagram for making the Fast and Furious franchise about you, and questioned whether it would be another #Baywatch, which was a rebooted movie that The Rock starred in that flopped at the box office. While Hobbs and Shaw would take the top spot at the box office though, Tyrese posted another public shot at Johnson for the movie's less than stellar opening weekend numbers compared to other Fast and Furious movies. But when the film started to pick up steam globally, Johnson made sure to let certain people know by tweeting, "Remember, the best way to shut the mouth of a clown is to flex with success and a smile." Tyrese later admitted regret over how he aired out his grievances, but he has yet to publicly apologize. Let's talk about Shawn Michaels. Now, it's not exactly clear what happened between Shawn Michaels and Dwayne Johnson, but there are a couple of different accounts that suggest these wrestling legends never really liked each other behind the scenes, which might explain why they never faced each other in the ring. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter suggested that the feud started when Shawn reportedly disrespected The Rock's promoter grandmother in the 80s. It's said that as The Rock was rising in the WWE ranks, Shawn did all he could to bring him down. But now that plan might have backfired. Now when The Rock became the WWE's biggest star and got to wrestle whomever he wanted, Shawn was never considered. "I was never ever interested in working with him, to be honest with you," Johnson told WWE.com. On to TJ Perkins. Professional wrestler TJ Perkins took a shot at The Rock on Twitter and, well, it didn't end well. When TJ was asked if there was a motto or quote he lived by every day, he gave an uncensored version of the Nike slogan, "Just effing do it." Now another follower then suggested a quote from The Rock himself, "Always be the hardest worker in the room." Now it's here that TJ appeared to give Johnson a jab, tweeting alongside a wink emoji. That goes without question, but real ones don't say it out loud. Yeah, now The Rock didn't really appreciate that and made sure that TJ knew it. He tweeted in response by saying, "Yeah, that Rock fella has a big mouth. I've never heard of you, CJ, but I wish you the best of luck in the wrestling biz, champ." Then there's the Red Room cast and crew. This week, the entertainment news outlet The Wrap reported that The Rock was up to 8 hours late to set while filming the upcoming Christmas-themed action movie Red One, meaning that the crew had to shoot around him on some occasions. Now the outlet also reported that the Red One budget has grew way past $250 million as a result of several production issues, including The Rock's lateness. It also reported that he tried to save time on other sets by peeing in Voss water bottles, which upset some crew members. And yeah, no kidding. An anonymous source that The Wrap said knows the actor well said on set away from his trailer, if he needs to pee, he doesn't go to the public bathroom, he pees in a Voss water bottle and his team or a PA has to dispose of it. Yeah, that sounds like an absolute nightmare. Next up is Ahmed Johnson. To say that Tony Norris aka Ahmed Johnson can't stain Dwayne Johnson would not be entirely accurate, but the former wrestler certainly hasn't been shy about sharing gossip about his colleague. In an interview with the Work and Punch Productions in 2016, Ahmed shed more light on his locker room scuffle with The Rock. "I didn't like the fact that he was getting a little too cocky for me and we had a match coming up, matter of fact that same night. We was going to do the match and I was willing to do his high spots, but he wasn't willing to do all mine. We got into a little confrontation back there." And finally we have Rebecca Ferguson. Now this is just speculation, so don't take it to heart, but in 2024 Rebecca Ferguson claimed that an unnamed co-star screamed at her. On the Rain podcast, Rebecca explained, "I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star, and this human being was so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. I would cry walking off set. This person would look at me in front of the whole crew and say, 'You call yourself an actor? This is what I have to work with. What is this?'" Yikes. Now the internet has done some sleuthing to try to figure out who she was talking about, and one of the most popular theories was that she was talking about The Rock. Now Rebecca worked with him on the 2014 film Hercules. However, he was also the first person to publicly support her after the comments were made, stating on Twitter, "Hate seeing this but love seeing her stand up to BS. Rebecca was my guardian angel sent from heaven on our set. I love that woman. I'd like to find out who did this." But him making this statement actually made fans more suspicious of him, thinking he was covering up something. So, was it The Rock? I guess we'll never know, but some people are convinced that it was him.
So while Taylor Swift appeared countless times on the Ellen DeGeneres show, the talk show host went way too far in 2013 and upset the pop singer by asking way too many questions about her dating life. She was so aggressive about it, like she kept asking questions, and Taylor was like, not having it. For example, Ellen was like, "Okay, so last time you were here with your boyfriend Zac Efron. How's he doing?" Taylor was like, "We actually never dated." And Ellen was like, "Yes you did." She continued on, "Which song is about Zac on the new CD?" and kept saying that she didn't believe Taylor. Ellen then said that she would show pictures of Taylor's rumored ex-boyfriends and Taylor should ring a bell 3 times to confirm the relationships. Now Taylor said that she didn't want to do that and looked incredibly unhappy about the direction that the conversation was going in. But Ellen didn't stop. She kept going. She's like, "Okay, we get it." The episode was super duper tough to watch, and Taylor didn't look pleased about being put in that situation. Like, yes, it's no secret, Taylor has some wealthy and famous ex-boyfriends, but it's also a widely known fact that she doesn't like to talk about her love life in detail. She saves that for her music. Also, it appears that she commented on that interview, and it's been a couple of years. According to Pop Crush, a TikTok user at That Nostalgic Girl shared Swift speaking in a radio interview, saying, "I was like 23 and people were just like kind of reducing me to making slideshows of my dating life and putting people in there that I'd sat next to at a party once and deciding that my songwriting was like a trick rather than a skill and a craft." She also said it's a way to take a woman who's doing her job and succeeding at doing her job and making things, and in a way it's figuring out how to completely minimize that skill. Now, while Taylor didn't directly explain what interview she was referring to, the fact that she mentioned slideshows does suggest that she was referring to the 2013 episode of Ellen. Now, it's hard to know why Ellen continued with her plan of literally showing photos of Taylor's rumored exes, such as John Mayer, when she knew Taylor wasn't okay with what was going on. It would have made sense to just like pivot and go in any other direction. Dakota Johnson, like the OG. Who could forget that time that Ellen tried to roast Dakota for supposedly not inviting her to a party, and it backfired big time. So the star of 50 Shades of Grey had this horribly awkward encounter with Ellen. This was during an appearance on the show in November of 2019. And it all started when Ellen was like, "Hey, how about those birthday celebrations?" Because Dakota just turned 30. She was like, "Yeah, I haven't been invited. How was the party?" But Dakota was like, "Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited." She continued on by saying, "Last time I was on the show last year, you gave me a bunch of SHIT about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited. I didn't even know you liked me." This led to a rather striking comeback from Ellen, who insisted that she always liked Dakota and wouldn't have invited her on the show so often if she wasn't a fan. Now, when Ellen was like, "I don't know, I wasn't invited," Dakota was like, "Ask everybody. I did invite you, and you didn't come." After a tense back and forth, Ellen eventually appeared to relent, saying, "You know what, I think I do remember I was invited. Thank you," saying she had some sort of other commitment. Yeah, the rest of that interview is awkward history, and I'm pretty sure Dakota still remembers it to this day. The Everybody Loves Raymond actor Brad Garrett called out Ellen via Twitter on July 31st of 2020. Now, he had appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres show multiple times, and he reshared Variety's article about the comedian's letter apologizing to staffers who felt disrespected. In that letter, Ellen said that she hadn't been able to closely manage the show as it grew in recent years. And Garrett said, "Yeah, sorry, but it comes from the top." The actor continued to say he knew more than one person who was treated horribly by Ellen, adding that her behavior was common knowledge. Now, Brad provided a voiceover for Pixar's Finding Nemo, which was a movie that also had Ellen, so he might have known of some stuff. He might have seen something, he might have heard something around the studio. I trust him. Also, famed actress Leah Thompson, who is perhaps best known for starring in the classic movie Back to the Future, backed up Garrett's claim. Responding to a People magazine article about his tweet, Thompson kept her statement short and sweet. She said, "True story, it is." Now, she's never elaborated on its sense, but like, she's not one to just say something all silly-like. Susan Sarandon was among folks who shared their disapproval of Ellen's friendship with former President Bush, whose second presidential term ended in 2009. Taking to Twitter, the Oscar-winning actress shared a link to an out article titled, "Ellen is friends with Bush, but he was no friend to LGBTQ+ people." The article pointed out that Ellen, as a lesbian, isn't exactly doing a service to the queer community. The screen star also shared a quote that said Ellen was missing the point entirely by framing the issue as simply a matter of her hanging out with someone with different opinions, not a man repeatedly accused of being a war criminal. Now, people were taken aback by the strange pairing, and later, on her show, Ellen herself addressed the pushback that came from her unexpected friendship. They thought, "Why is a gay Hollywood liberal sitting next to a conservative Republican president?" A lot of people were mad, and they did what they do when they're mad. They tweet. Yeah. Her statement didn't exactly reflect well on her, and a lot of people still are like, major side eye. It has long been the clash of the comedians for Kathy Griffin and Ellen DeGeneres, because Kathy, she wrote in her 2016 book, Kathy Griffin's Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. Well, she wrote about a whole series of celebrities, but she didn't directly name Ellen, but she said, and I quote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards. I can't prove it, but this person who has short blonde hair has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." Now, Ellen didn't mince her words regarding Kathy, calling her very mean in an interview with W magazine in 2007. She said, "I know she had a big thing about wanting to be on the show. She had a whole thing that I banned her from the show. I didn't ban her from the show, because first, you have to be on the show to be banned. Oh, there's more." In 2016, Griffin told The Hollywood Reporter that she received a harsh call from Ellen about the Celebrity Run-Ins book. Ellen was extremely upset, and I think she had a thought that she was gonna put me in my place or whatever. But you know, I'm not shut upable. We kind of got into it. I admire her, and it was a difficult conversation. But hey, it came with the territory. So does anybody remember that time that Ellen took Michelle Obama to a supermarket to teach her how to shop like normies do before leaving the White House? What, because Ellen's so down to earth and humble? During the segment, Michelle literally told Ellen how annoying and childish she was right to her face, and truer words have never been spoken. She literally said, you're really annoying. It's like taking a 3-year-old to the store. Well, if Michelle Obama is roasting you, yeah, that's it. Please. As if she's gonna waste her words. Mariah Carey said she was extremely uncomfortable during her 2008 interview on the show when Ellen pushed her to announce her pregnancy. Carey quietly said that she prefers not to discuss that on television, so Ellen asked her to toast with champagne instead, effectively forcing her to admit whether or not she was carrying, because, well, pregnant women are not supposed to drink booze. "I can't believe you did this to me, Ellen," said Mariah. Ellen then said, "Let's toast you not being pregnant then, if you're not pregnant." The singer continued to stall by making excuses like the time of day, or how champagne's bad for you, and then Ellen just yelled, "You're pregnant." Well, Mariah Carey miscarried shortly after the interview. Now, this clip resurfaced online years later amid the controversy around Ellen, and Mariah revealed that the moment made her really uncomfortable. And she said that during an interview with Vulture in August of 2020. She said, "I was extremely uncomfortable with that moment, that's all I can say, and I really have had a hard time grappling with the aftermath." She mentioned that she wasn't ready to tell anybody because she'd already had a miscarriage. She doesn't want to throw anyone that's already being thrown under any proverbial bus, but she didn't enjoy that moment. She finished by stating that there's an empathy that can be applied to those moments that she would have liked to have been implemented. It's like, what are you gonna do? Well, I can think of a lot of things I'd like to say to Ellen right now. So Mariah Carey wasn't the only guest who was put on the spot by Ellen during an appearance. In a cringeworthy episode, Ellen barraged Justin Bieber with questions regarding naughty photos of him that had been leaked. She even asked who the girl was in the background of the photos, resulting in obvious embarrassment from the young star. Hell, in 2020, Ellen had Justin Bieber on her first show of the December holiday season, and the line of questioning was truly cringe-inducing. Now, Justin handled it as well as he could and remained relatively stoic, but his discomfort was visible, particularly when Ellen asked whether his wife Haley really cooked their Thanksgiving turkey and what the holdup was on him and Haley having kids. Like, I don't know, let people spawn or not on their own time. What's Ellen's obsession with people being pregnant or not? And finally for today, speaking to Rolling Stone in 2022, Grayson Chance talked about the trauma he says he felt as a teenager after being discovered and later completely abandoned by Ellen. He said, "I've never met someone more manipulative, more self-centered, and more blatantly opportunistic than her." Now, with Ellen leading the way, Chance first released a mini EP in October of 2010, 5 months after signing with her, and during that time he says she was always a phone call away, dinner dates, but then as he increased his touring schedule, performing in Canada, Paris, London, and across the US, Ellen got really invested in the singer. But then she also became domineering and way too controlling. As Chance's career intensified, so too did his bristling against Ellen's control. Chance says that she was like a hidden eye over his career. "My whole week, my whole month, my whole year could change with one text message from her." He said that it was horrible. There was one time where Ellen was sent a video of a scheduled performance for a different network, and she didn't like what he saw, and made him and his team redo the entire thing. There was several times that Ellen would go through his clothes and be just a little too controlling about what he wore. Now, a former production employee of The Ellen Show told Rolling Stone that there was absolutely no surprise that Chance experienced that sort of controlling behavior. The former employee, who worked on the show during Chance's rise and was fired after a year, also felt that Ellen was manipulative and opportunistic, and that working with her was a wake-up call to not always follow the money. Yeah, they said their experience working on the show was literally hell.
John played one of the main characters, Bo Duke. John Schneider's first ever country album he released hit the stands and made it into the top 10 of the US country Billboard charts, peaking at spot 8. He had even better standing with his cover/remake of the Elvis hit Now or Never, which peaked at number 4 on the US country chart and 14 on the Hot 100 chart. All that intro to say, this guy is well established in the country music scene, and he is not happy that his territory has someone new coming in. In fact, he compared Beyonce to something weird, definitely not something I would have picked myself. John Schneider was being interviewed on One America News Network, and soon the interview shifted to the recent controversy of an Oklahoma radio station refusing to play Beyonce's new country music when a fan requested it. The interviewer asked a question about Schneider's opinion on how the lefties in the entertainment scene have to seize control over every area in entertainment. Schneider agreed with the host, and that's where the odd comparison came in. John said, "They've got to make their mark, just like a dog in a dog walk park. You know, every dog has to mark every tree, right? So that's what's going on here." That's right, John just compared Beyonce
to a dog peeing on a tree. Obviously, Beyonce fans and people in general thought the comparison was a little bit rude. Many people on social media began pointing out that Beyonce had done country songs before and was revisiting that era, others saying you can't gatekeep an entire genre of music. John did respond to the public criticism, saying that the phrase was just something he has always used. Safe to say that John Schneider and Beyonce will not be collaborating in the future. Kenny Chesney is incredibly successful in the country music scene. He has had multiple songs in the top 10 US Billboard Hot Country Songs charts and has received many awards for his contributions to the genre. His connection to Beyonce comes from a 2016 award show in which Beyonce performed a country song alongside the Dixie Chicks, and Kenny's seemingly unimpressed face was caught on camera. Beyonce has now stated that a main reason why she had written the country album was because she felt so unwelcome at the 2016 performance. When that info dropped, fans were quick to bring this Kenny video back as an example of why. In 2016, after receiving so much scrutiny online for his reaction, Kenny apologized and later clarified that he does love Beyonce's music. Kid Rock is not a Beyonce fan and hasn't been for a while. Kid Rock, or Robert James Ritchie, began his career and made it to mainstream media in the rap rock genre, but has now switched over to some more like country rock vibes. The singer has gone on record criticizing Beyonce's music and her appearance, saying she doesn't really do much for him. His criticisms came from his 2015 Rolling Stone interview in which he said he was flabbergasted by Beyonce's level of fame. He said, "Beyonce, to me, doesn't have a purple rain, but she's the biggest thing on earth. How can you be that big without at least one Sweet Home Alabama or old time rock and roll?" He's right. By this point, Beyonce had only released songs like Single Ladies and Halo and Crazy in Love and more, songs that have had no lasting impact on pop culture at all and no one remembers at all either. Of course, fans of the Queen Bee weren't happy and began to swarm the comment sections of Kid Rock's Instagram with bee emojis, to which I will admit Kid Rock had a funny response, posting a picture of a can of bug repellent. Do I agree with him? No. Was that a funny response? A little. These comments were said almost a decade ago, but I don't think we will ever see music from this pair. Accidental country artist Lil Wayne will probably not be collaborating with Beyonce anytime soon. Let me explain. Lil Wayne is a hip-hop artist. He did release one song called You Dig that some people say has a country vibe, but it's not labeled as a country song by any means. Lil Wayne mainly has a feud with Jay-Z, but since Beyonce is married to Jay-Z, she's also kind of included in it. In one song, It's Good, Lil Wayne insinuates that Jay-Z is living off Beyonce's money and that he might kidnap her. It's a choice. So that's the mini feud between him and Beyonce. The country part comes in an odd way. At the American Music Awards, Lil Wayne won for the favorite rap/hip-hop song category for his track I'm the One, so he won one category. Yet in the male received 5 awards, the other 4 for the country genre. The award show accidentally sent him the awards meant for Little Big Town, the famous country band. It was a mix-up. Lil Wayne had nothing to do with their music, though if he were to collaborate with a country performer, he might choose them over Beyonce. We probably won't see a country collaboration between Carrie Hilson and Beyonce anytime soon, though Hilson has done country collabs in the past. Carrie is an American singer and songwriter that mainly performs the R&B genre, but has done some country once upon a time. She collaborated with country music stars Sugarland to perform the song Think by Aretha Franklin. While that country collab seemed right up her alley, one with Beyonce probably wouldn't be, as Carrie does not seem too fond of the Cowboy Carter writer. In 2009, Carrie released a remix of her single Turning Me On. The original actually featured Lil Wayne, the remix didn't though, in which she rewrote the lyrics to the hook in Beyonce's song Irreplaceable. Lyrics in Beyonce's song are to the left, it's that one, and the lyrics in Carrie's version are you can dance, she can sing, but she needs to move it to the left, she needs some babies. In a 2013 interview with Juicy Magazine, Carrie allegedly refused to hold a magazine with Beyonce featured on the cover, so yeah, they weren't doing great then, and they probably aren't now either. Though Keisha Cole is not a country music artist herself, she does seem to love the genre and actively wants to encourage artists breaking into it. The Grammy-nominated singer once helped an up-and-coming country music talent, Tony Evans Jr., get access to big-name producers after she viewed one of the singer's videos posted online. So she clearly understands country talent when she hears it, but she is not a fan of Beyonce as of 2013. Beyonce released the song Bow Down in 2013, and Cole took her comments on the song to her Twitter account. She tweeted, "First, women need to stick together. Now, bees better bow down. Shaking my head." Country fan 50 Cent is another one to have an eye on up-and-coming country talent. Though 50 Cent is a rapper, he has allowed his music to be turned into country songs, with country remixes being released online, and even Shang-Chi star Simu Liu performing a country version of his song Indie Club. It's safe to say, though, the rapper might not traditionally write for the country genre. That doesn't mean he won't fit in. 50 Cent has shown public appreciation for country artists. Last year, country artist Zach Bryan attended a 50 Cent concert and later met 50 Cent afterwards. 50 Cent shared a photo to his personal Instagram of the pair, sharing that Zach Bryan is the best new everything in country music, incredibly high praise. The rapper does not seem to hold Beyonce in such a high standard though. Allegedly in 2015, the rapper backed up Grammy producers when they decided to give Beck an award at the Grammys instead of Beyonce, and insinuated that Beck poured more work into his album than Beyonce did. Azealia Banks is very much not on the Beyonce train and has not been for a while. She also recently insinuated that another female artist would have been a better pick to release some country tunes. The American rapper shared some thoughts on Beyonce after the release of her album Lemonade. Banks tweeted, "Don't think for a second that Beyonce was intelligent enough to come up with any of those ideas on her own." Continuing with, "She's not an artist, she's a poacher." Banks and Beyonce had a problem with each other back in 2014 when Banks released a remix of Beyonce's song Partition without permission. So Beyonce's lawyers filed a copyright claim against Banks. Now, years later, with the release of Beyonce's country album, Banks has once again weighed in with her musical opinions, saying that she believes K. Michelle should be the one releasing country music instead. This was typed out on Banks' Instagram story. K. Michelle did respond with her X account, writing that she loves Beyonce and will be supporting her like she always does. So a K. Michelle and Beyonce collab seems way more likely than a Banks and Beyonce. In addition to all of this, Banks also used her social media to criticize the album cover for Cowboy Carter, so yeah, she really is not loving it. American rapper Kaya is not fond of Beyonce and has accused the Cowboy Carter singer of stealing music, copying music, and more using her social media. Kaya voiced her dislike for Beyonce's album Renaissance, calling it devil-worshipping music. The pair's feud has been going on for years though, with Kaya notably referencing Beyonce in distasteful ways in some tracks. A future collab seems out of the question here. Lily Allen is a singer and songwriter from London and mainly releases music in the electro-pop or reggae genres. That podcast is where she shared her opinions on Beyonce's country album. Talking to her co-host, one of Allen's big criticisms of the album was Beyonce's choice to cover the song Jolene. Allen said she found it weird. It's quite an interesting thing to do when you're trying to tackle a new genre and you just choose the biggest song in that genre to cover. Once again, referencing Jolene. I mean, you do you, Beyonce, and she literally is doing her. Or is she doing Dolly? Dolly Parton is actually all for Beyonce's cover, and all for the album in general. Dolly Parton is featured on 2 songs. She also once requested that Beyonce cover her song Jolene the same way Whitney Houston covered her song I Will Always Love You. During a 2022 interview on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, Parton was asked about her request, to which she replied, "I don't know if she's even got the message, but wouldn't that be a killer?" Parton says in the interview, "I would just love to hear Jolene done in a big way, kind of like how Whitney did my I Will Always Love You, just someone that can take my little songs and make them powerhouses." It seems Beyonce did get Dolly's message and we now have the amazing cover, but also Dolly Parton, please give yourself credit, the song is equally as amazing when you perform it. Lily Allen did have more opinions on the country album to share. She said she viewed the entire thing as very calculated. On the album, Beyonce addresses Jay-Z's speech in which he called out the Grammys for never awarding Beyonce the album of the year despite her having the most Grammys in history. About this, Allen said, "When Jay-Z got up and said that thing, that was part of this campaign. It was before the album had come out or even been announced, and she was wearing the blonde wig and a cowboy hat." Allen later shared her thought that Beyonce was coming for that market. Her co-host joked that Allen was working on her own country album, which would be the first country music Allen were to release, to which Allen replied, "But I'm not like trying to conquer the country market. I'm here because I've loved country music and always have loved country music. Not saying Beyonce doesn't, but I tell stories in my songs, and quite a lot of country music does the same thing. I think it's well suited to what it is that I do." Allen also appeared to have shaded the way Beyonce looks later on in the podcast, so overall, fans weren't happy, and a Beyonce-Lily Allen collab is probably not on the way. American Psycho actress Chloe Sevigny is not too fond of Lawrence and made that fact known in an interview with E! News. The conversation that prompted the admission was about how Chloe wasn't like other actresses, as she isn't one to try and take on what other people want her to be. She isn't trying to be the pretty girl or the suggestive girl. In her words, "I'm not arching my back in every photo." She went on to say a couple names she admires, calling Angelina Jolie a great movie star and saying Emma Stone was really cute whenever she's herself. The star had few kind words when it came to Lawrence though, remarking that the Hunger Games star was annoying and too crass, adding on that she can do without her. Real Housewives star Erika Jayne and Hunger Games star Jennifer Lawrence got into a bit of a spat in 2022. Jennifer Lawrence is a big fan of reality TV. This is a fact that she has made known over the years, so that means she gets asked a lot of questions about it on red carpets, her opinions on certain shows, things like that. It's usually questions about the reality shows that gets the star in hot water, and we will cover more examples in this video, but for Real Housewives, this feud with Erika was sparked in 2022 right here in Toronto. Lawrence was in the city attending the Toronto International Film Festival for her film Causeway. While on the red carpet, Lawrence was interviewed by Variety. They asked what she thought about the current season of Real Housewives. Lawrence's answer: she found it kind of boring and she thought Erika was evil. I would go as far as to say she needs a publicist ASAP. These comments, of course, grabbed Erika's attention. Erika made an appearance on Watch What Happens Live shortly after, where she was asked what she thought of all this, and she responded, "Well, you know, it's easy to label people when they are at their absolute lowest going through something in real time on television. I'm sure that we could unmask the ugly parts of her personality as well." The feud between Miley Cyrus and Jennifer Lawrence started because of a love triangle. Around the time when the Hunger Games movies were being filmed, Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth were very much an on-again, off-again kind of couple, so the timeline working in Jennifer Lawrence can get a little messy. Jennifer and Liam were starring as Katniss and Gale in the Hunger Games trilogy. On screen, the characters share a romantic attraction, and that seemed to start to move off-screen into real life. Some sources close to Miley at the time shared with Hollywood Life that Miley wasn't happy with this, and it was a big reason why she chose to get back together with Liam. It's unclear exactly how Lawrence felt about this whole thing, but she did admit something was going on when she admitted that her and Liam had makeout sessions on set off camera. With both actors being main players in major superhero films, you'd think Jennifer Lawrence and Jared Leto would have something to bond over, but the pair haven't seen eye to eye since a misunderstanding at the 2014 Oscars. The year prior, 2013's Oscars, was the year of the big fall. Lawrence won Best Actress and looked amazing while doing it, but her dress had it out for her, causing her to trip coming up the stairs. This led to one of the most iconic Oscars moments ever, Lawrence's Disney Princess fall. Lawrence handled it like a champ. She made the audience laugh with her signature humor, and it seemed people were still laughing even a year later. Jared Leto, his mother, and his brother, that is. As Lawrence was presenting 2014's Best Actress Award, Leto and his family couldn't seem to contain their laughter. This time, Lawrence hadn't really done anything to make them laugh with her, so the only explanation is that they must just be laughing at her. Not something you want to happen when presenting one of the biggest awards of the show, so she was a bit ticked off. However, it turns out Leto and co weren't laughing at Lawrence exactly. The host of the Oscars, Ellen DeGeneres, that year, had made a cheeky comment that caused the trio to crack up. All she mumbled was, "Don't fall." Of course, referencing the 2013 J-Law moment, the misunderstanding did cause a slight rift between the two actors at the time. J-Lo might not be a big fan of J-Law, and it's not just because she stole her nickname. A misunderstanding at the Met Ball one year caused J-Law to think J-Lo hates her. The story of the incident was shared by Lawrence during an appearance on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Speaking to Fallon, the pair's conversation shifted to the 2013 Met Gala and Met Ball, Lawrence sharing her encounter with the Jenny from the Block singer. Jennifer alleges that J-Lo refused to dance with her. J-Lo did try and clear the air during her own appearance on The Tonight Show shortly after. She explained that she wasn't rejecting Jennifer Lawrence because it was Jennifer Lawrence, but because the dance floor was super crowded and wild at the time. Fallon was actually there and had originally made a plan with Lawrence to ask J-Lo to dance, but bailed. To make it up to J-Lo and J-Law, he asked Lopez to dance on the show, and she accepted. Reality TV personality Spencer Pratt made it crystal clear how he feels about the Hunger Games star and her destructive habits. In the September 2017 issue of Vogue, Lawrence discussed how her house was flooded, and also why she thinks it flooded in the first place. In the magazine interview, Lawrence says that the flooding happened almost right after she had just thrown out a bunch of crystals and crystal balls she'd found in her house. Sounds suspicious. It was what Lawrence said about throwing out the crystals that sparked the feud between between her and Pratt. Sharing the story of her move, Lawrence said, "When I first moved in, the house was crystalled out, crystals everywhere and geodes, and I was like, please get rid of these. I don't want people to come over here and think I'm a crystal person. I hate crystals." One thing about Spencer Pratt is that he loves crystals, carries some on him at all times even, so he was convinced that the crystal people Lawrence was talking about was him. He made these claims and more during a Facebook Live series called The Morning Breath. On the show, he said, "She was talking about me in Vogue like 100%. I'm the crazy crystal person she's clowning." He also revealed that he was just diagnosed with a new skin condition, which he also blamed on Lawrence, saying she caused it using voodoo and spells. Pratt said Lawrence was at the top of his beef list and that he was disappointed in Lawrence since she claimed to like the reality TV show he was on, The Hills. I mean, if Jennifer Lawrence watches a lot of that show, maybe she was referring to Pratt when talking about the crystal people, but I don't think we'll ever know. There was one time when Jennifer Lawrence and Kris Jenner got so close, Kim Kardashian started getting jealous. Lawrence has been a fan of reality TV for a very long time, we know that, so it makes sense that she also tuned into Keeping Up with the Kardashians and grew to love the show. One time, when Lawrence had apparently seen Kris Jenner in a lobby, she yelled across it to Kris that she loved the show. Soon, Lawrence actually properly met the family and grew to be a very close friend. Kris even started referring to Jennifer as one of her kids. Most of Kris's actual kids didn't have a problem with this, except Kim K. Around the time when this was happening, a source close to the family claimed that Kim viewed herself as Kris's favorite, but when Jennifer started getting closer to the family, she was getting jealous because Jennifer was getting so close to her mom. Allegedly, she felt like Jennifer was becoming her favorite. It seems that is now all water under the bridge, as Lawrence is just a super close family friend. Lala Kent and Jennifer Lawrence have not been buddies since some serious name calling a few years ago. Jennifer Lawrence made an appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen and said some pretty controversial comments about Vanderpump Rules star Lala Kent. Lawrence called Kent a runt, but with a C, on live TV because she is friends with the people she considers enemies, and to Lawrence that just feels very fake of her. When Lawrence referred to Kent as a runt, she meant it in a joking manner, but it's also understandable that Kent did not take it that way. Taking to her ex social media account, Kent posted and then ended up deleting 3 tweets directed towards the Hunger Games star. Of course, screenshots exist of these tweets and they read as followed. "Did Jennifer Lawrence really just call me a runt on Bravo Watch What Happens Live and talk about my mama? You better pray I don't see you in the streets. You're one of the highest paid actresses on the planet. You claim you are pro-woman and you call another woman a runt? You're gross." Later reflecting on the moment, Kent expressed that more than anything she felt disappointment. Speaking on it, Kent said, "No one wants to be called the C word, especially by an A-list celebrity on national television. I was such a huge fan of hers and it bummed me out," adding on that Lawrence should leave the trash talking to the people that do reality TV. Joan Rivers is known for her show Fashion Police, and that show is exactly the reason why she and Jennifer Lawrence didn't see eye to eye. While on the promo tour for Hunger Games Catching Fire, Lawrence was asked to speak on body positivity. Her response to the question included the show Fashion Police and how they encourage body shaming. Joan Rivers, the host of Fashion Police, did not appreciate Lawrence's comments and shared her thoughts on Twitter. The most iconic of the various tweets was the one referencing Lawrence's famous fall at the Oscars. The tweet reads, "Wait, it just dawned on me why Jennifer Lawrence fell on her way up the stage to get her Oscar. She tripped over her own arrogance." Not condoning anything here, but Joan ate with that tweet. Her other tweets compared Jennifer's attitudes towards the show now to what she would say before. One reading, "It's funny how Jennifer Lawrence loved Fashion Police during awards season when we were complimenting her every single week." Another reading, "But now that she has a movie to promote, suddenly we're picking on all those poor helpless actors." Joan Rivers unfortunately passed in 2014, but the show carried on until 2017. A historic pop culture moment between Lindsay Lohan and Jennifer Lawrence was spawned due to a 2015 comment. Lawrence appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in December of 2015 to promote the movie Joy. The pair's conversation shifted to Lawrence's illness while shooting the movie in Boston. The host asking her just how sick she got, Lawrence responded with the controversial comment about Lohan, saying she gets Lindsay Lohan-like exhaustion only without the substance substances. A year prior to the interview, Lohan did an honest interview with Oprah discussing her addictions and how she is doing, so the comments from Lawrence were not appreciated at all. Lohan's sister responded to the comments directly using her Twitter account, calling out the Hunger Games star, saying she was disappointed in her. Lindsay responded more indirectly with a quote from a Maya Angelou poem, Still I Rise, and thanking her sister. She finished off her message with, maybe who you're referring to should learn to support others like hashtag Maya Angelou. This isn't the first time shade has been thrown. Lohan did an interview in 2014 where it's thought she implied that Lawrence used intimate means to get to the top. She also told the magazine she's so fake. When Lawrence won the Golden Globe in 2013, beating Meryl Streep, in her acceptance speech, Lawrence referenced the movie First Wives Club, saying, I beat Meryl. However, if you don't know the movie, you might take that statement the wrong way, which is exactly what happened with Lohan. The Mean Girls actress took to Twitter to share her thoughts on the situation, tweeting, no one should ever mess with a legend such as Meryl Streep.
David Beckham and Mark Wahlberg's drama is a long-winded one. So the soccer legend filed a lawsuit against F45 Fitness, which the Oscar-nominated actor is part owner of. For context, Mark Wahlberg invested in the company in 2019 and became the chief branding officer in 2023. Now during that time, David Beckham entered into a promotional agreement with the fitness brand through his company, DB Ventures Limited. I think this was around 2021. But on April 21st, 2024, it was reported that David Beckham was suing F45 or F45 after claiming that he never received the $10 million he was offered in contract negotiations when partnering with the brand. The complaint said that the Australian-based fitness company agreed to pay Beckham $1.5 million a year, along with shares of stock in the company, which would be available to him 6 months and again 12 months after the company went public. However, the Inter Miami owner's attorneys alleged that the company failed to transfer and register the shares until about 8 months after the agreed upon date. His attorneys also said the shares were worth about $9.3 million less than they were in January of 2022. So Beckham is suing for $9.3 million for his loss of shares, plus an additional $5 million. Beckham is also seeking $4.5 million for payments he alleged he was to receive for the remainder of his term. Now, the company's lawyers have responded to Beckham's complaint in court documents, denying multiple allegations, and they claim that he has not fully performed his obligations. Until we know more, this seems like a mess where both guys might be in the wrong. So back when Mark was known as the famed rapper Marky Mark, he apparently got into it with Eminem of all people. So Eminem opened up on the feud, explaining that it all came to a head in 1999 on TRL. Speaking with Anthony Bozza in the book Whatever You Say I Am, The Life and Times of Eminem, he explained he was told by MTV that he was going to be on the show with Wahlberg, and they were like, he'd appreciate it if we don't call him Marky Mark. So Eminem recalled Wahlberg arriving and saying, what, is there supposed to be some sort of effing tension here or something? And Eminem was like, I pretended like I don't hear him and whatnot, SHIT. Then we're on the air and I'm like, we'll just stand around here like one big fun bunch. So I threw a jab at him. Eminem and Wahlberg reportedly continued to have a dislike for one another as the years went on, but apparently this is all simmered out now. They settled it in 2017. In an issue of The Hollywood Reporter, Mark Wahlberg revealed that he used to have a feud with Leonardo DiCaprio. He says he almost did get cast in 1995's The Basketball Diaries because Leo wanted him off the court. Leo was like, over my dead effing body. Marky Mark's not gonna be in this effing movie. Wahlberg admitted he deserved that treatment. Because we'd had a thing. I didn't even realize it, but apparently I was a bit of a phallic thing to him at a charity basketball game. So he was like, this effing a-hole is not going to be in this movie. But Wahlberg managed to impress the Growing Pains star with his acting chops. So I come in and I do the audition and I kind of look at him and he kind of looks at me, and then we do a scene and they're like, this effing dude's pretty good, right? Next thing you know, boom, we're hanging out. Meh. With all that we know about Leo's creepy dating practices, sounds like Mark was ready to butt heads with him from the get-go. So out of all the people in the world, Mark got into a fitness feud with famed TV personality Dr. Oz. The two got into it after Dr. Oz shared his thoughts on breakfast, saying that it isn't an essential meal, and explained his approach to intermittent fasting. Wahlberg, who was a big proponent of getting in a meal both before and after his early morning workouts, disagreed with Oz's perspective when asked about it by TMZ. And thus, a heated back and forth social media feud began. The men challenged each other to a workout to see if they could keep up with one another, despite their different viewpoints. And finally, Wahlberg shared that he and Oz met up face to face to do just that. He said, I don't think he knew what he was getting himself into, but he was a trooper. I squashed him like a grape. Poor thing, he didn't know what was happening. Now, Dr. Oz has been proven to be a fraud time and time again, so that's not super surprising. So thanks for warning folks that he's hot air. One thing about Mark is that he is known for having a close-knit group of friends, one of which being Michael Jordan. And somebody who didn't know this? Kevin Hart. Hart and Wahlberg worked together on the film Me Time, which was not one of Wahlberg's many films to gross over $100 million at the box office. But apparently the guys had a great time together. But after Wahlberg found out that Hart had some unkind things to say about Jordan, an interview the two were in took a detour, and it was during this time that Wahlberg showed that he was not happy that Hart shaded his buddy. The beef between Hart and Jordan came to be when Hart did a stand-up comedy set at a charity event that Jordan was hosting. Between a bit too much booze, which is apparently one of his backstage requests before he does stand-up, and the need to get a laugh from the crowd, Hart went too far and might have permanently damaged his relationship with Jordan. He said, "Mike still might be mad at me. True story." So while he was doing the set, he's like, "Nobody's laughing." It got to the point where nobody's laughing. He's looking straight at me. He's actually giving me a look like, "You gonna keep on going? Like you ain't gonna stop?" "I don't care, I'm having a good time, I was laughing." Now Hart admitted, "I may or may not have been, well, under the influence at the time. I hit him with one more, and nobody says nothing." So it got over, and he went to go see him, and he's like, "What up, Mike? Hey." And Hart went on to say, he shook my hand, and he squeezed it real hard, and he was like, "You have a good day." Which is, never a good sign. In 2013, a series of leaked court documents suggested that Tom Cruise had compared working on a film to being as intense as fighting in the military. It's safe to say that the statement did not go down well with Mark Wahlberg. Later down the line, he was promoting his film, Lone Survivor, which was based on actual events of the failed 2005 mission, Operation Red Wings, where Mark played the role of a Navy SEAL. Now, when he was asked about the difficulty of shooting the film, he went on an angry rant, quoting, "For actors to sit there and talk about, oh, I went to SEAL training, and I slept on the, oh, I don't give an F what you did. For somebody to sit there and say my job was as difficult as somebody in the military's? How effing dare you? When you sit in a makeup chair for 2 hours?" He added that at the end of the day, actors get to go home, go to their hotel room, and order effing chicken. Now, Tom's lawyers jumped in very quickly and claimed that he was only joking. He's a very big supporter of the troops. But the tension was very real. Back in 2014, in a moment of elation following Rob Gronkowski's touchdown against the Oakland Raiders, Patriots owner Robert Kraft went up for a high five with his boxmate, yes, you guessed it, Mark Wahlberg, and his eager fingers met, well, the wind. Not only did Wahlberg decline to participate in the high five, he also snubbed not one, but 2 shoulder pokes from a desperate Kraft, who was left hanging. It seems that even the kind of rich guys whose collar and cuffs are a different color than the rest of their shirts shan't presume to high-five Lord Wahlberg. Of course, we don't know why he denied the high five. Maybe he was just really busy paying attention to football or something. The happening has been called one of the worst screw-ups of M. Night Shyamalan's career, and of course, being a part of the production also reflected badly on Mark Wahlberg. So it's no surprise that he trashed the movie relentlessly, even though he had the lead role. At first, the plot sounds like it had potential. It follows a Philadelphia high school teacher who tries to keep his wife safe during a global crisis in which plants spread a neurotoxin that causes humans to completely act out. But it was completely ridiculous. Wahlberg himself admitted that he had no idea what was happening in the happening. He just took the role because he was tired of playing tough guys. He said, "F it, it is what it is. Effing trees, man. You can't blame me for not wanting to try to play a science teacher. At least I wasn't playing a cop or a crook." Now, the director responded to the actor's criticism in 2019, and he really took the whole thing like a champ, saying it's totally his call, however he wants to interpret it. At least he has a good attitude about it. Family relationships can be complicated, and this is no different for high-profile celebrities as well. While internal politics between family members escape public scrutiny, if you're an ordinary person, big league Hollywood stars don't have the luxury of privacy, be it rumors or otherwise. So despite having music and acting careers and their Wahlberg's food empire, Downey and Mark, yes, they have their separate things, they have their restaurants, but they also don't have a lot of love for each other. In August of 2014, when Downey was set to marry Jenny McCarthy, TMZ revealed that Mark and his wife wouldn't be attending the wedding. Now, there was a lot of speculation. Is it like, are you not fans of the bride? Nope, it just turns out that the brothers aren't super duper close, and there's a lot of badness there. And finally for today, Mark appeared on The Conan Show years ago and revealed his daughter's obsession at the time with now former boy band One Direction. He was like, okay. Now, Mark being Mark, he threatened to knock the crap out of the young and blessed Harry Styles. Like, he legitimately tweeted out, if Styles doesn't watch out, he's gonna risk getting a black eye or 2. Yep, those were the days when celebrity chatter on social media was very much unregulated. Mark told Conan, "My 4-year-old's going, 'Daddy, I like Harry.' And I'm like, well, I'm gonna punch Harry in the nose when I see him." He continued to say that she pulls out pictures of Harry Styles and she's hiding the pictures in her room, and he pretends he's ripping them up and he gets jealous. And I saved his quote-unquote best line for last, but if I see that little prick, he's gonna get it. Lovely. Now, I think the most endearing part of this feud was Styles' retaliation. The UK's Daily Star reported that Harry thought this conversation was an absolute hoot, so he sent Wahlberg and his family a very special invite. Now, what did he do? Well, he sent them tickets to a show, which was, I think, super fun.
Now starting off strong, we have Kim Cattrall. The two stars may have played good friends on Sex and the City, but it turns out Kim and Sarah were nowhere as close in real life. Rumors of bad blood between the two co-stars began when Kim refused to participate in a third Sex and the City movie. Then, in an interview in 2018, Kim called out Sarah in particular. She said, "I really think she could have been nicer. I don't know what her issue is. I never have." Things escalated even further in 2018 when Sarah offered her condolences to her co-star after Kim's brother passed away, and Kim responded with a bitter Instagram post dismissing Sarah's words. "I don't need your love or support at this time, at Sarah Jessica Parker. You are not my family. You are not my friend," she posted. Now Sarah, however, dismissed the idea that there was ever a catfight in an interview with Vulture that same year. "I've always held Kim's work in high regard and always appreciative of her contributions." Now in the reboot of the show, and just like that, Kim wasn't asked to be a part of the revival, even though it features almost every series regular from the original show. Now in the season 2 finale though, Kim did join the show and reprise her role, so who knows if their relationship is better now. Then there's Anya Taylor-Joy. Okay, so these two didn't work together, but they had an extremely strange encounter that I just had to share. Actor Anya Taylor-Joy was once such a fan who approached Sarah Jessica Parker, and she was a little embarrassed by the interaction, recounting the story during an appearance on the Drew Barrymore show in November 2022. "I was going through a really bad breakup, and I was like, hey, I just have to tell you, like, I've been watching you and Big and it's giving me hope," Anya explained. And she was like, "Oh, that you'll get back together?" And I was like, "No, that I will survive, that I can like move on from this and that it will be okay." Now apparently Sarah didn't take too kindly to this and said, "Okay, I'm gonna get in my car now." Of course, it remains unknown why Sarah wasn't quite sure how to respond to Anya's comments about Harry and Big. She could have just said, "Ugh, I'm so glad," and carried on. But being caught off guard was probably the reason for this strange response, and Anya admitted to feeling pretty awkward about the exchange. The star did precursor her story by telling Barrymore, "It was a really bad moment for me," suggesting the meeting wasn't all that she hoped it would be. Yikes. Now we have Robert Downey Jr. As we all know, Robert Downey Jr. has had some substance issues, and this got in the way of his career and his relationships. Sarah Jessica Parker had a 7-year relationship with Robert, which ended in 1991. Parker said that her attempts to be the steadfast presence for Downey made her feel like a parent, though she was in her early 20s and both actors were struggling to make their names in the industry. "People around him would be dismissive of me, but I had given him stability and tried to create a steady heartbeat that allowed him to show up on time," she said. "That made me angry and embarrassed me." Downey, through a rep, told the magazine that he had great respect for Sarah. Speaking about the relationship, he said, "I was so selfish," he admitted. "I like to drink and I had a drug problem and I didn't jibe with Sarah Jessica because it's the furthest thing from what she is. Sarah Jessica would pull me out of a hangover and we'd go pick out furniture together. She is a force of nature," he said. Moving on, we have her staff. Now some of Sarah's emails were leaked and it appears that she had some specific rules for her staff. She instructs her staff household to refill a tiny 1.75 ounce container of Vaseline with a small spoon or knife for her children to use. She stresses that the refill jar can't be too big so it doesn't clutter the house, and the cutlery used to dispense the Vaseline must be hand washed using a paper towel and then go through the dishwasher. She also requests that a bottle of face wash and Neutrogena body wash be continually replenished for her son, James Wilkie, in his shower. But she insists the staff not buy multiples of anything and instead wants them to check the levels of each product daily, only replacing them once the product has completely run out. Now another email included her shopping list for Taco Tuesday, which included whatever meat goes in tacos. Yeah. Then when the New York family had pink eye, she sent the team specific instructions on how eye drops should be given to her 8-year-old twin daughters at the time, Tabitha and Marion, including how hard they should blink. Yeah. Next up is Oprah. Sarah was once on Oprah's show, and Oprah's gushing all over her, telling her how great it is that she's taking care of the family and how much work it must be. Sarah said though, without missing a beat, "I have a lot of help, I mean I have a lot of people helping me," which of course is true. She's a multi-millionaire Hollywood celebrity, married to another multi-millionaire Hollywood celebrity, and she has her own household staff cooking and cleaning and taking care of her kids and running errands and all of that, and she wasn't afraid to admit it and give props to the mothers who don't. But Oprah wasn't having it. Oprah doesn't like it when it's pointed out that very rich, pampered celebrities have it a whole lot easier than regular people who do actual work for a living. Now, Oprah kept trying to get Sarah to admit that being a mother was a lot of hard, difficult, grueling work, and Sarah just wouldn't say that. She kept saying that it's not that hard when you've got a big staff of people helping. Seems like Oprah doesn't like her for telling the truth. And finally, we have all her Sex and the City co-stars. Now, fans of Sex and the City have always adored the chemistry between the show's four main characters, but Jessica's Carrie remained the lead throughout the duration of Sex and the City, and this was allegedly reflected in their salaries. According to Us Weekly, Sarah was reportedly earning as much as $3 million per episode, while her castmates were allegedly taking home approximately $350,000 an episode, which is just crazy. Now, the spin-off, And Just Like That, sees the trio reportedly taking home $1 million per episode, proving that negotiations had moved a lot since 2004. Now, during an appearance on the Origins with James Andrew Miller podcast, executive producer Michael Patrick King defended the disparity, saying, "The show doesn't exist if Sarah Jessica wasn't the blonde star of the show. I guess for Kim it didn't matter how much the raise became if there was never parody, but there was never going to be parody." Yikes. I cannot imagine doing pretty much the same amount of work as someone, but they're getting paid 10 times more than me.
First up, let's have a look at James Franco and Tyrese. An on-set fight nearly destroyed the careers of these two prominent actors. While both of them have gone on to have very successful careers in some of the most memorable movies in recent times, the time they spent working together couldn't have gone any worse. While they were filming Annapolis back in 2006, Franco and Tyrese would constantly get involved in verbal disputes with each other, and eventually things took a turn for the worse and got violent. Tyrese revealed in an interview that the pair of young actors actually got into a full-on fistfight on set and had to be separated by the film crew. Tyrese tried to tell his co-star to back off and lighten up, but Franco apparently wasn't going to back down. The fight was apparently so bad that production of the movie had to be halted for a full day to allow the two actors to collect themselves and put aside their differences. While they were able to push through and finish the movie, it was so obvious that the working relationship between Franco and Tyrese was completely over. It seems like there is a very good reason why these two actors never really reconnected after this terrible affair. Next is Viola Davis and Jared Leto. Viola Davis called out her co-star for being too much like the Joker. Yes, when Jared Leto was taking on the role of the Joker back in 2016, he was really taking the job a little too seriously. Now, obviously it's good for an actor to stay in character so they don't lose their touch, but it sounds like Leto took things a little bit too far. His co-star Viola Davis claimed that Leto would stay in character the whole time they were filming, and he would continue his character's psychopathic tendencies off set. The catalyst in the strange behavior when Jared Leto apparently sent a box of bullets to Viola Davis. This seemed like much more than a joke to Davis, to the point where she was actually worried for her own safety. She had no idea if there was any sort of subliminal message behind the strange package, and she even claimed that she nearly pulled out her pepper spray. Viola went on to clarify that she was incredibly tough and even got into fights when she was younger, but this strange moment really affected her in a very dark way. There have been multiple disturbing cases of actors taking their roles too far. This also isn't the first strange thing that Jared Leto has ever done. Aside from his outlandish outfit, scaling the Empire State Building to promote his band, supposedly running a cult, this honestly might not have been the weirdest thing that Leto's ever done. Next is Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. Friends turned to enemies after some very hurtful words were exchanged. They may have appeared as best friends on TV, but the two were anything but that off screen. The feud apparently all started around pay. A 2008 report actually revealed that Cattrall approached the producers about a pay increase after she found out that SJP was making considerably more money for appearing on the exact same show. The two stars have taken jabs at each other online and in the press on numerous occasions. It sounds like it went well beyond an internet feud. It has also been reported that Parker had convinced the studio to write Cattrall's character out of the rebooted version of their famous TV series. Cattrall claimed that this was a lie and she didn't return for the reboot just because she didn't want to. She also stated that SJP had no control over her career and she could make her own decisions. Parker even tried to make amends with Cattrall in 2018, 2018 after the passing of Kim's brother, but even that didn't work. Parker passed along her condolences, but Cattrall stated that she was not her family or her friend and didn't want her sympathy. This was a really nasty feud that just never ended up finding a solution. After that is Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. The Fast and Furious set was in turmoil after these two superstars nearly came to blows. Now, it's no secret that the Fast and the Furious is one of the biggest movie franchises of this generation. They have now generated over $7 billion in revenue over the last 20 years. But even with all the commercial success they were enjoying, two of the franchise's main stars became very agitated with each other on the set of the franchise's 8th film, The Fate of the Furious. Diesel and Johnson were apparently at odds throughout the duration of the movie's production, and The Rock even took to Instagram to publicly address his feelings about his co-star. He wrote that some of his co-stars conducted themselves as stand-up men while others just did not. He then went on to congratulate the entire crew after they wrapped up filming for the movie, but Diesel was noticeably absent from Johnson's post. Well, this didn't go over well with Diesel, who also happens to be a co-producer of the film. He clearly held all the power in this scenario and made sure The Rock was absent from the following sequels. It seems like they might have set aside their differences now, as The Rock's return was teased at the end of Fast 10. So we will just have to see if these guys could actually get along and get back to producing ridiculous over-the-top action. Up next is Sylvester Stallone and Richard Gere. These two Hollywood powerhouses nearly came to blows over a messy lunch. It turns out that Richard Gere was supposed to appear in Lords of the Flatbush with Sylvester Stallone. He was cast alongside the Rambo actor in the film, but things took a very nasty turn while they were working together on set. It was pretty obvious that the pair didn't really like each other from the get-go. The film crew was probably expecting them to just put their differences aside and get on with the filming. Well, as it turns out, that was not the case. Stallone really wasn't too fond of his co-star's attitude, and seems like Gere believed that he was better than everybody else. Stallone stated that he would strut around his oversized motorcycle jacket like he was the baddest knight at the round table. But things really got spicy when the actors were practicing a fight scene and Gere got carried away in the moment. Stallone told him to back off after Gere grabbed onto him violently, but Gere was completely stuck in his character. But the one moment that really pushed Stallone over the edge was when the pair got into a car to have their lunch. Stallone was eating a plain hot dog, but Gere was chowing down on a very greasy chicken. Sylvester warned his co-star that it was going to get messy, but Gere didn't listen and dripped grease onto Stallone's thigh. That's when Rambo pushed his co-star out of the car and gave the director an ultimatum. And as we now know, only Stallone appeared in the film while Gere was sent packing. Up next is Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling. One of the most captivating romance films in recent times almost never happened. While many people were blown away by the chemistry between the two actors in The Notebook, turns out the two stars had a pretty tough time coexisting when the cameras weren't rolling. Director Nick Cassavetes revealed that McAdams and Gosling had to work through some pretty tough times on set in order for the movie to be completed. He stated that the actors didn't really care for each other too much, and it created some serious issues during production of the movie. The director even revealed that at one point, Gosling had asked him if he could bring in another actress to read lines with. Gosling also claimed that McAdams just wasn't giving him anything that he could work with. It was impossible to build any chemistry. This caused Cassavetes to force the two actors into a closed-door meeting so they could work out their differences, and that ended up turning into an all-out screaming match. Well, it seemed like the screaming match actually worked on this occasion because they were able to return to filming and actually ended up dating each other in real life. Their working relationship, however, was pretty much over after The Notebook. After that, let's look at Leonardo DiCaprio and Clint Eastwood. An on-set feud has completely tainted the relationship between these two cinema icons. The legendary Hollywood figures have appeared in front of and behind the camera for some of the greatest movies of all time. However, an on-set feud during the filming of Eastwood's 2011 film J. Edgar resulted in a terrible hatred that has only been building ever since. While they were filming a scene where DiCaprio had to react to a bomb explosion, the actor was just not pleased with his reaction. DiCaprio asked if he could do a retake to improve on his performance, and that is where everything went downhill. Eastwood is very well known for his one-take method of directing, and declared that filming for the day was complete and walked off the set. Now, DiCaprio was so enraged by that incident that he turned down a role in another Eastwood film, and this left a very sour taste in the mouth of the legendary Hollywood creator. Both of these Hollywood icons have vowed to never work with each other again after this strange incident, but seems like the budding personalities were just never a good match for each other. Up next is Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman. Sometimes physical contact on set is just unacceptable. Meryl Streep is obviously a very well-known actress nowadays, and when she was just getting her start in the film industry, she had a very uncomfortable experience with Dustin Hoffman. Streep's first major film appearance was Kramer vs. Kramer with Dustin Hoffman, but things weren't always going according to plan on set. While the pair of actors were shooting the opening scene for the film, Hoffman decided to improvise with a very heavy slap across the face to Meryl Streep. Now Streep obviously wasn't expecting this, and it sounds like it really hurt. Sure, Hoffman was just trying to emphasize his character's actions, but this was probably a little bit too far. But if that didn't cross the line already, he also used what Streep labeled emotional recall when he taunted her about her late partner John Cazale and his terminal illness. Streep was completely blown away by the strange encounter and found it really hard to forgive her co-star for this bizarre moment. And considering that this was only just the opening scene, we can only imagine that there were even more tense moments between the two actors on set. Up next is Charlie Sheen and Selma Blair. Charlie Sheen and drama really just go hand in hand. While Sheen was involved in plenty of controversies over the years that have earned him more than a few enemies, he ended up finding himself in yet another feud after starring in the sitcom Anger Management. Apparently, Sheen and his co-star Selma Blair did not see eye to eye on many topics, and this led to a ton of on-set altercations. While Blair was obviously not afraid to voice her displeasure with her co-star, it proved to be a rather risky move for her time as an actress on this show. In addition to being the show's lead actor, Sheen was also one of the series' producers, which meant that he held a lot of power over the show's casting and its direction. After various on-set fights and arguments between these two actors, it was announced that Blair's time on the series was finished and she would not be returning. Now, it was later revealed, however, that Blair had an issue with Sheen's work ethic and was not shy about letting him know. But instead of trying to work things out or actually improve on his performance, Sheen sent a flurry of angry messages to Blair letting her know that she was fired and she would never be welcomed back. And last but not least, the cast of Glee vs. Lea Michele. The Glee superstar's entire cast members turned on her after revealing that she was a terrible person to work with. Now, this was a show that captured the hearts of many across the world, but when the cameras weren't rolling, it was an incredibly tense affair. Samantha Ware absolutely ripped into Michele on Twitter, claiming her co-star made the working environment a living hell. She also claimed that Michele threatened to defecate in her wig at any given opportunity. Now, this obviously kickstarted some massive backlash against Michele, who lost brand sponsorships, and Ware wasn't the only person who had something to say about the Glee star. Heather Morris also stated that Michele was incredibly unpleasant to work with, and other Glee co-stars were even labeling her as a racist. Even Matthew Morrison, who played Mr. Schuester on the show, sort of alluded to the fact that Lea was incredibly difficult to work with. He didn't get into many details when asked about her on Fubar Radio, but he did say that you want to be a pleasant person to be around, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Michele did try to save face by issuing public apologies, but it was so obvious the damage was already done. This was something that she really just never recovered from in her career.